Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we talk everything pop culture, but today we're talking about Scream 6, and specifically, who I think is going to be the killers in Scream 6, so let's talk about it. So kicking off the list on my number one spot, we have Josh Segarra's character Danny Brackett. If that name sounds familiar, it's because, well, one, he shares the same last name with Annie Brackett from the Halloween franchise, and he shares the same first name with Danny Johnson, another Ghostface killer in the Dead by Daylight franchise. And it's something about those references that just makes me think that he might be one of the killers. Another thing is, in the game, Danny Johnson is a journalist who is obsessed with murders, so if they do go for that, Danny Johnson type killer in this movie with Josh Segarra, his obsession with the real life murders in Woodsboro could lead him to, build that Ghostface shrine, but not without some help. We also know from this trailer that this Ghostface is the most dangerous Ghostface yet. Being able to disarm people, dodge shotgun blasts, and then, one-arm a shotgun. I think that's actually, physically impossible almost, especially for, a younger kid. So, looking at this cast, the only person I can really see doing that is Josh Segarra. But something we have learned from the past movies is anybody can do anything when they're under the mask. It doesn't matter their shape or size, so now that I mention it, I may have just figured out who the killer is.
I'm something different.
And another red flag is that he wasn't really in the trailer at all, really, and that's something that this franchise does. They try to keep the killers, out of the trailers as much as possible, so they don't raise suspicions and kind of, keeping the, keep the audience unaware of them. At least all the movies other than Scream 5, because they just put the killers dying in that trailer. The only thing that could really change my mind about Josh Segarra being one of the killers is if he's Sam's love interest, because I don't think they're going to do that again, especially after the last movie when it was such a predominant part of that movie. Don't trust the love interest. I don't think they're going to do that again, because it would be way too predictable. But if Josh is one of the killers, how would he get access to all of that crime scene evidence? Possibly with the help of a cop. There is a cop in this movie being played by Dermot Mulroney, and maybe just like Josh's character, he's obsessed with the real-life murders, and, since he's high up in the police ranks, he could get his hands on that crime scene evidence, and nobody would bat an eye because it's his job. We also know that he has a daughter in this movie that's friends with the victims from the last movie, so, maybe he gets her to go along with all this, or, he just uses her to get closer to the victims until it's time to strike. If Dermot Mulroney is one of the killers, I don't think he's going to be, the one going out and killing people on the streets of New York. I think that he's going to be more of the mastermind behind everything, and people like Josh's character will be, doing all the heavy lifting, while Dermot Mulroney sits back and, just kind of arranges everything. The one thing making me question if he is a killer, though, is in the trailer we see him getting a Ghostface call, but one thing about this, we've seen killers getting calls before, so I'm not going to write this off yet, because it could just be to take suspicion off of him, depending on who's in the room with him right here, so I'm not going to write it off yet. Now to another person that I'm super suspicious about, and that's Henry Czerny's character, Dr. Christopher Stone. And why, you ask? Well, one, he played a killer in Ready or Not, which is a radio silence film, and those are the people behind Scream 5 and 6, so they already trust him with that, psycho killer status. Get it? Tatum? No? Okay. Thought that was a good one. But also, Dr. Christopher Stone is the most horror movie name I've ever heard in my life. They may have well just named him Dr. Evil or something. It just sounds like something you would hear in a horror movie. It's hilarious. But that being said, he's playing a therapist in this movie, so how much screen time could he possibly have in this movie if he's just playing the therapist? I mean, obviously Sam might go to him one or maybe two times at the beginning of the movie. I doubt even two times. So, it's not like Sam is going to be running around getting chased by Ghostface in the middle of this movie and then just stops to go talk to her therapist. That would make no sense. So, it makes me think that he's going to have a bigger role at the end of this movie, because they wouldn't be promoting him if he's going to be in 3 seconds of this movie. And also, him being Sam's therapist gives a lot of really cool opportunities for him to plant seeds of doubt in her mind, and maybe even, manipulate her to turn, a little bit crazy. Because we already know she's crazy from the last movie, but if her therapist is telling her that, I don't know what that's gonna do to her. And going back to that Ghostface shrine again, we know therapists make good money nowadays, so he obviously has enough money, to purchase that land where the shrine is, and he probably knows people who could get him that, crime scene evidence for the right price. Now, this brings me to the last person on this list, and that's Kirby. And I know what you're all saying right now. Why would Kirby be a killer? She's a past victim, but that's exactly why. Kirby is a past victim. She knows the trauma of getting attacked by Ghostface, and she probably still deals with that to this day, and maybe now that she's a cop to deal with that trauma, and to prevent anybody else from dealing with this, she's taking everything that has a connection to Ghostface and is just stashing it away somewhere where nobody will ever go, so nobody ever has to see it again, so Ghostface is a thing of the past. And after the events of Scream 5, she realizes the only way for Ghostface to truly be gone is everybody with a past connection to Ghostface has to die. Good or bad, it doesn't matter. And remember, in the trailer, Ghostface tells Gale that there's something different, and I can't think of anything more different than a past victim turning Ghostface. Also, a few things on the side note. I don't think all these people are going to be, killers together, obviously. That would be too many, and it would just be kind of confusing. I only think a few of these people will be killers. I also think there's going to be at least one other killer, maybe, Jack Champion. I'm a little suspicious about him because we didn't really see too much of him in the trailer either. And everything in the last, third act that we've seen, he's not there. And even when they're on the ladder scene, he's not there. So I'm a little confused. Maybe he dies really early, but we see him in other places. It's really confusing. We're going to have to wait and see. But Scream 6 is fastly approaching. We're exactly a month away. I see this movie in less than a month on March 9th. I am over, this is my most anticipated movie of the next, I can't even think. I've never been this excited for a movie other than, Spider-Man No Way Home. But if you guys like Scream and enjoyed this video, you might want to consider subscribing, because now that we're a month away, like I said, I'm going to have at least 2 Scream videos coming out a week, so look out for those. And comment who you guys think is going to be the killers in this movie in the comments. And I do have one more question for you.
What's your favorite scary movie?
What is this place?
A shrine.
We've got to lure him in.
We execute him.